Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 47 of A View to a Kakuranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. My name is Matt J. With me, as always, is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Not bad, man. Just got back, took the twins for a walk, had a really nice time, beat the rain, which I am pretty sure is about to hammer us.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking out my window right now. It is getting pretty gray.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we got in a nice walk, and the twins were super happy, and I got an oatmeal raisin scone at the. I fell down on that Trim Healthy Mama, but that scone was so good.
Dude, oatmeal raisin is a beautiful flavor combination.
It really is.
Anybody who says that they should put chocolate chips in their oatmeal cookies
Madness.
and scones, I'll tell you what, let's bring back an old favorite here, Dave. Those folks can go suck a lemon, because oatmeal raisin is the way to go.
Let's hold up.
Nope,
my wife
not
does
holding
prefer
up.
chocolate.
Listen, Dave.
Anyways.
Listen, we are sort of on a time crunch this week, which means that this is an editing light episode, which means that we do not have time to go back and redo that take where I accidentally insulted your wife, who I love.
Yeah, this fun train is not going to stop. So just get on board with your tickets.
Just get up on it.
Just get up on it. Get on that train and ride it.
Speaking, Dave, of getting on that train and riding it, what the train that we are riding today is episode 47 of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. It is called the 100 Burst Human Fireworks. But before we get into that, Dave, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. What, oh what, brother of mine, is our first star of the week?
Well, this kind of plays into why we're having, this is sort of a last-minute, last-ditch.
This is literally last minute. Like, this might be the latest we have ever recorded an episode of this show.
Mark is a Superman of editing, which is great, and we appreciate him so much, because we're back at school. Well, I'm back at school. Many people are back at school, and I'm one of those people. I'm one of the... So, yeah, school year started. And it's weird.
How's it treating you?
It's actually really good. I'm having a very good year so far. I dig all my classes. I'm getting to teach one of my favorite classes this year, which is only like an every other year class.
Oh, nice.
And it's a second year course for theater, and there's not always enough kids that want to take it that like it would be justifiable to teach it every year. So I only teach it every other year. But it's a ton of fun because it's always kids that I know are enthusiastic, who want to do it, and I've like worked with a bunch of them in shows. So it's a much more like interesting, casual. It's a very college class vibe, and they have a lot of fun. I can dig that. A lot of fun. So that's cool. We are in a new building. They finally,
that's right.
Yeah, they finished this enormous renovation on this building, and it's weird. Because people obviously are asking how it is. They're like, how's the new building? Because we as a community spent many dollars on it. And
well, here, let me take their place right now in this moment. Dave, how is it?
Man, it's like 95% amazing.
I mean, that's a pretty good number.
It is a pretty good number. Like,
what's the problem with the 5% though? Like, is it 95% amazing and 5% like a weird basement where like a shadowy organization dwells, or is it 5%?
No, because that would not, unless you count the tech crew. They are a weird shot. Anyways, so no. It's like mostly good, but there's a couple of for example, none of the windows have screens. Just none. There's just nothing.
Oh.
There's like no safety bars, and the windows do lock from the inside, which is good, but and these are not, you know how like in most institutions the windows only open so far, so you can't like throw your backpack at someone from the 3rd floor or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
these windows,
it's not something I'm normally trying to do, but I understand how that would be a restriction.
Right, and these windows don't do that, but they do just open all the way, and there's nothing that kids could just literally, if you're on the 1st floor, a kid could just literally jump out the window. I mean, I guess they could jump out any window they wanted, but they would have a better
when we were in
chance
high
of
school,
surviving.
somebody jumped out the window on the 2nd floor.
That's true.
Our old friend Jim.
Yeah, and so that's just a bad. And we went to a very well-behaved school, much better behaved than the school I teach at, and so it's just gonna happen. And somebody should have thought of that. It's like the architects they just don't know high schoolers, which is insane because like their whole jam is that they design school buildings, and you would have and it's like little things like that. But other than that, the building is big and beautiful, and the auditorium is amazing, which is rad. Then I'm back to school, and I'm shaping hearts and minds. It's just how I do. Just
very
how I
exciting,
do, Matt.
Dave. Very exciting.
It is. It's very cool. So what, Matt, is our second? Wouldn't it be cool, listeners? Wouldn't you have loved to have had me as a high school teacher? Like, how to say? Not to toot my own
when
horn.
I was in high school, you were also in high school. You would have been a terrible teacher.
Well, okay, yes, but imagine some time hinkiness. Let me just. If you listen to the podcast, I feel like you have a really good idea as to kind of how my classroom rolls. It's great. I like my job a lot. So Matt, what? Matt is our second star of the week. Wow, that first star went long. We got to move faster.
Okay, speaking of things that we like a lot,
Ourselves.
Yes, ourselves first and foremost, and this show secondarily. It is, of course, the greatest show on earth. Imagine, though, if you will, Dave, that there were other shows out there that people could be listening to. I mean, I don't know why they would, but let's imagine hypothetically that were a possibility.
No, I can get there. We only produce an hour of content a week, Matt.
Yeah, but I mean, you're probably going to listen to it at least 2 or 3 times to catch all the nuances.
Yeah, okay. So let's just imagine there's a world in which you would prioritize another. It's a very easy world to imagine.
Anyway, the thing that I am sort of circling around is that the first campaign arc of the Adventure Zone ended this week. Now, Dave,
no kidding.
Did you listen to that program?
I've actually just recently started because our sister Katie, and I know you've been recommending it, and so you should get the credit, but it's because Katie recommended it.
Well, I feel like if I recommend a Dungeons & Dragons thing to you, you're like, oh, sure, well, Matt likes Dungeons & Dragons. It's probably fine.
Precisely.
If our sister recommends a Dungeons & Dragons thing to you, I imagine that sticks out a bit more because, I mean, until very recently, we'll talk about this in our next star, she was not a Dungeons & Dragons person.
Correct.
Anyway, so I just want to say, listen, you are all currently listening to a podcast, which means that there is a higher than average chance
it's
that
very, very good chance.
You already listened to that podcast as well. But if for some chance you are not, dude, listen to it. Okay, let me give you 3 bullet points on why you should listen to it.
Yeah,
One,
Matt, everybody knows who the McElroy brothers are. If you listen to podcasts.
Okay,
and are not our mother.
Okay, but I'm trying to tell you. Oh, I guess tell our mother as well. Yeah, because she's listening to this, and I think it's the only
Mom.
one she listens to. Hello, Mom. We'll see you soon. Anyway, the 3 things. 1, they it's the McElroy brothers. They're very funny people. It's a fun show to listen to. 2, the story, the overarching story of this campaign that Griffin, who's running the game, put together is very good. You're early on in the show where it is still very fun, but as you listen to it, you will realize that it's not just fun, it's also a very good story. And number 3
nice
is that these dudes just play really dope Dungeons and Dragons. The way that they play Dungeons and Dragons is really compelling for for me who likes to play Dungeons and Dragons. The stuff that they do in that game is super oh yeah, that's a really fun, interesting way to engage the rules and engage this problem. They're just, it's great. It's great on all those levels. And it is so great, in fact, Dave, that leads us into our 3rd star, which is...
Our 3rd star is Dungeons & Dragons.
Yes. Well, specifically, our sister, as we said, listened to all of the Adventure Zone in a month. And then decided that this Dungeons & Dragons thing, that seems like it sort of got legs.
Right. Well, we had been saying for ages and ages, actually in much the same way that I listened to her recommendation on the podcast, she listened to the McElroy's recommendation about Dungeons & Dragons. We had been telling her for literal years how much fun Dungeons & Dragons was, And then she listened to the podcast and was like, well, Matt and Dave obviously have been telling me to play Dungeons and Dragons, but they're giant nerds.
Which, I mean, hurtful, but fair.
True. And so, like, you know, but if this podcast had a lot of fun, then it would be fun. So we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. And first of all, man, it's been a while since I played Dungeons and Dragons.
Dave, Dungeons and Dragons is the best.
Dungeons and Dragons it's so great, you guys. Like, there are even other games that I might, like, that I sort of recognize objectively are better and maybe even have a warmer, I'm not going to say that, but I do sort of dig more. Like, rather famously, we really, really love Famous in a very, very small context. We love Mage, the White Wolf game Mage. But there's just something about Dungeons and Dragons, man.
Yeah, well, because I think every other game, like every other role-playing game, is a variation on, like, the thing. But Dungeons and Dragons is the thing. Like, it's just the thing role-playing game.
Yeah. And it's super fun, man. Like, you've got a wizard and a bard and a rogue, and because Dungeons and Dragons is really designed for 4 people, even though I'm running the game, I am running a fighter just to kind of run along with you guys who doesn't make any decisions.
Which I really appreciate. Because as you mentioned, we are playing a wizard and a rogue and a bard, which are not super tough.
You guys are real squishy. But so we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it's so much fun. And listen, if you've never played Dungeons & Dragons before, guys, 5th Ed, like the most recent thing, it's super easy. Like, it's a really easy onboard. The rules are very simple. Just get some friends and, like, have rad adventures and play Dungeons & Dragons.
It's a very good
time. Just do that thing.
Speaking of things to do, Dave, what... wait, what is our 4th star? Did that transition make any sense? What's our 4th star?
Well, it's there's activities. It's the eclipse, Matt. There were a lot of activities.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know that you would,
I don't know how I forgot the eclipse.
Yeah, I don't know that you would go do the eclipse unless you somehow were a celestial body yourself. I mean, I guess every time you cast a shadow...
Wow.
Every time you cast a shadow, you are, in a way, your own tiny eclipse.
Right, like this was the total eclipse, like the total solar eclipse. But anytime I'm out on a sunny day, it's always a total matte eclipse.
It's true.
Like you were like sort of behind me.
Right. Yeah. So it was the total eclipse, which is a very it's a very it's a cool thing, man. And I know eclipses happen around the world on a slightly more regular basis, but this one was the first one that you could see kind of in its totality in America, in the continental U.S. And so that's a very cool thing. In like 38
years, I think, was the last time that there had been one.
Yeah, it was like a really long time.
Prominently shown in the U.S. Although the next one is going to be in 7 years, and it's going to be right over Cleveland, and I'm super excited about it. Because here, we got like an 80% totality, which is cool, but like the sun is extremely bright. And so even if 80% of it is covered up, like it's still pretty bright.
It's still very, very bright. And also, Cleveland does just tend to be Cleveland's very cloudy and gray. Mm-hmm. And so if it's not that total eclipse action, it's hard to tell the difference between just an eclipse and like an unusually but not like super noteworthily cloudy day in Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, I did get the glasses.
I did. It was like in the middle of a school day, and I don't teach science, so I just was doing.
I'm sure all the science classes just like went outside to go look at it for a minute.
Yeah, they went ham on that thing. They had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. But no, I got a pair of the glasses, and then at work, a bunch of us went outside like for the like 5 to 10 minutes when it was sort of at its peak.
The peak. Yeah.
And it was cool. Like you look through the glasses. The problem that they don't tell you with the glasses is that they are so dark and so shielded because, as aforementioned, the sun is incredibly bright, and so it makes sense.
Yes, just so bright.
But like when you're looking through the glasses, you don't see the sky. You don't see the world around you because everything else is blacked out. All you see is like the sliver of the sun that is showing up like behind the eclipse. And so I'm just looking through these glasses.
Dimmer than the sun is blanked out.
Right. So basically, I'm just looking through these glasses at like a weird like crescent shape that's glowing, but like it's not like it doesn't look as cool as I wanted it to. So hopefully Well, in the next in 7 years, when it's the totality, you can just like experience it more. Hopefully, like by the next one after that, they will have improved those glasses technology so that I'm not just looking at a black piece of plastic with a glowing like orange thumbnail clipping on it.
I literally don't even know how you could improve.
I don't know, man. They've got a lot of years to figure it out.
Well, they have 7. That's how many years. There's a lot of cool pictures, man. Look at some of the neat. NASA posted some amazing pictures.
Anyway, eclipses are very cool. The sun gets covered up for a minute, and it's bonkers.
Yeah, that's so. Speaking of things that we tried to watch and didn't really get a super great
nice
view
transition.
on. Yeah, thank you. I was actually thinking about that, and it came to me right at the last moment. So, Mayweather versus McGregor, that fight just happened. You may have heard about it.
You may have watched it, but I think what's more likely is that you may have tried to watch it, because that's what we did, and it did not work out even a little bit.
Yeah, so we're not going to talk about the fight, because you could just look that up. But so our buddy Tim calls us a week before, and he says, "Hey, I just looked up, the BW3 by me is showing the fight, says so on their website, let's go check out the fight." Cool, Tim, that'll be super fun. And it was late enough at night that the babies were asleep and his baby was asleep and we could all hang out. It's going to be great.
And I don't have any babies, so I was pretty much good to go.
You have no babies. And so we were out at we went to BW3.
BW3, by the way, is actually Buffalo Wild Wings. It hasn't been BW3 in about 10 years, so if you were a young person, that's what we're talking about. I think even longer
than that. So, Buffalo Wild Wings. And so we go, and I walk in, and the fight's not on, which is weird, but I'm the first one there. So I'm like looking around, and then I see... you guys show up, and then we walk in, and we're like, "Hey, we noticed you don't have the fight on anywhere. Are you guys you're showing the fight? The website said so." And the hostess says, "Oh no, we're not." And then she points, and taped to the hostess, not even in like a stand on it, just like taped to the front at like waist level, is just a printed piece of paper,
like a real like laser jet job. This was not a fancy sign.
Not even like colored paper. And it just says, "Sorry for any inconvenience, but we're not showing the fight tonight." We're like, "Oh, well, okay, awesome. Later." So we
Nuts
leave.
to you.
Yeah, so we walk out. We're like looking around for who is going to show, like who's showing the fight. And we find a couple places that are like close enough to drive to. And so we call and we say, "Hey, just to confirm, you are showing the fight." And everybody says, "Oh, yeah, we are. But there's a $25 cover." And not like $25 to get in, but there's like drink tickets. We just want to make sure you spend money. Like $25 tickets, and then you would have to buy drinks after that.
Right. And so we said, because there were 3 of us.
Yeah.
And so that would be $75. And we said, well, the fight is $100, and we will spend much less on beers if we just go back to Tim's place and watch it there.
Yeah, so Tim, very generously, he says, "Listen, it's in my, I was like, you guys buy the beer, I'll buy the fight, we'll go back to my place, we'll watch the fight." So we buy some beers, we get back to Tim's place, and we try, I kid you not, you may have had this same experience, I think no less than 5 different services, legal services,
sure. It was
to try and get this fight.
It was...
Like, we tried the Showtime app, the UFC app,
HBO, and then we tried them again on his, we tried them on his Xbox, and then we tried them again on his Roku, and nothing worked.
Everybody's servers were wanked. Like, there was so much traffic trying to get to this thing. They're just, I don't know. I heard they actually ended up delaying the fight because of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because so many people, I don't know if anybody's broadcasting over the airwaves anymore. Like, everybody's doing this digitally through the internet, and their servers just got jacked, and they couldn't broadcast the thing. So we tried for an hour, and then eventually just said, "You know what, man? It's already 10 o'clock. Well, let's just drink these beers. Let's just hang out on the porch and drink these beers." So we completely gave up on the fight.
And I realized later,
pleasant evening,
that although Tim's offer was very generous, Tim accidentally made a very good gamble when he said that he would buy the fight and we would buy the beers, because what ended up actually happening is that we all just drove to Tim's house,
I didn't think about
bought him some beer, and then drank it, and then left him there. He didn't have to go anywhere. He didn't have to spend any money. He didn't have to, change his pants or anything. Literally, we just went to his house, brought beer, hung out for 2 hours, and left. So
you got us this time too.
this time.
Okay. Well, Matt, that is going to do it for these 5 stars.
Yes, we are going to take a break. We are going to watch episode 47, and we will be right back. All right, so welcome back. We have just finished watching episode 47 of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. Dave, can you give us if you were going to give this episode 1 bullet point, I'm sorry, I'll give you 2 bullet points. What would you say?
Okay, Matt. The first is, I'm just going to use the title, The 100 Burst Human Firework, because I feel like it actually sums up amazingly. I promise you, that title does, in fact, sum up this episode pretty well.
It does, although if the episodes in Super Sentai were titled in the same way that episodes from Rocky and Bullwinkle were, I think that the episode title would be The 100 Burst Human Firework, or That's Not What Firemen Do.
Yeah, that's true. So my second bullet point is Shredder Fireman. Fireman Shredder.
He's very Shredder. Okay, let's just get into this.
Okay, so this episode, we open up and we see it's like a warehouse, and there's an old man, and he sort of like sneaks out of the warehouse. He looks very suspicious, and then he kind of ducks back into the warehouse, and it looks like it's some kids, but it's not. It's I don't know why I said that, because I could have just told you that it was adults, but it looked like kids at first to me. And I just wanted to let you in on the process.
Well, wait, hold on a second. In my notes, they are kids. So I don't...
Maybe some of them are kids?
I think that they're all kids. This is the sort of conversation you get on a light editing episode. But I am fairly certain that when he goes back, he's grandpa aged, and in fact is a grandpa. But when he gets back, everyone else in that factory are children.
Okay, so it is kids. So he kind of like ducks back in. He's like, all right, the coast is clear, like time to escape. So they go to leave, and they're sort of like sneak running away. Mm-hmm. There's no guards at all. And then a dude who looks like the Shadow.
Yeah,
appears,
sort of like the Shadow. I mean, he's
but
got
with
the
no
cloak.
Scarf.
He's got the hat. He's
a shadow with no scarf.
Imagine if Liam Neeson's Darkman had a regular face. It's those like that clothing.
Nice pull. So he appears, and he shoots them with his cane gun.
He's got a cane that's also a gun,
which is pretty rad. And then he says, Katsu, he turns to the old man, he says, Katsu, you broke your promise. So I am going to kill your granddaughter.
Your beloved granddaughter.
Beloved granddaughter. And then he says, I want fireworks. 100 continuous blast firework. Title sequence.
Right. So
then
we got away from here to a playground where a bunch of children are playing, as they are wont to do. And
right, in the playground.
Except for one child who is there,
sad
but she's
girl.
Not playing.
She's not. So she's dressed in like just a weird, she's like a full skirt with like a handkerchief and a long sleeved shirt. It's kind of an odd, like weirdly European look. And she's, which I mean makes sense for what they're about to say. And the little kids roll up and they're like, you look like Hans Christian Andersen. You look like Andersen's little match girl. Which... Just nah, man.
Okay,
no way in a million years is like that the reference that an 8-year-old Japanese kid pulls. If this show were set in Copenhagen, maybe.
Here is what I love about this moment is that like she is holding a basket full of matchbooks. So like just keep that sort of in the back of your mind for a moment.
Yeah, none of which match, by the way.
How do you mean? I mean,
none of the matchboxes. It's not like they have like 100 of the same matchbook.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Just like
you're
somebody
using
had
a different version of the word match. Okay.
Oh yeah, none of them
very
are
confused
identical.
for a moment.
That's understandable. But no, it's just like somebody had a big bin of like out of their junk drawer of matches, and they're just like, just use these. That's what they're using.
It is almost as though the writers of this episode, it's getting near the end of the season, right? And so they're sitting around like, wow, gosh, what have we done? We've done like the Minotaur cowboy who wants to start a theme park.
Man, I forgot about that guy.
We've already done, like all this other stuff. Like, what are we going to do next? And they're sitting around the office and they look over to like one dude's desk. And that dude is the guy who every bar he goes to collects the matchbooks and he keeps them in like a big jar. And they say like, I don't know, can we do something with matches? Like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, we've got a bunch of matches. And then they back engineered the entire episode from that moment. Because when they get to this point and they say, oh, you look like Hans Christian Andersen's little matchstick girl, the girl does not look like Hans Christian Andersen's little matchstick girl. But they need to make sure that the viewers at home know that she is meant to look like Hans Christian Andersen's little matchstick girl.
Right.
Because the next thing she does is pull out a book of matches and light one. And otherwise, none of this would make any sense.
Yeah, well, first of all, the little girl is Japanese.
Sure, so she doesn't look exactly like Hans Christian Andersen's little matchstick girl.
Yeah, well, it's just there's a fairly stark difference to begin with. And so she lights this match, and then there's actually a pretty cool effect. Like, the match flame becomes giant.
Like, and giant and clearly animated.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, this is not a practical effect. And then a monster that is best described as Shredder had a love child with like a fire truck transformer.
See, I was thinking of it as someone who designed a fireman outfit by, like, they saw a picture of a fireman and they heard the words but had no idea what a fireman was. And so this is a dude who is made out of fire who is kind of dressed like, like a fireman.
That also works. I feel like if you're imagining something right in between there, you're probably nailing it.
Yeah, like it's a very cool monster design.
It actually is pretty rad. So the fire monster attacks, and the little girl runs away.
But the fire monster specifically sort of scares all the children, and so they all go off running in the same direction.
Yes, except the little match girl,
right?
Who sort of dips off to the side. And Hime finds her, and she also immediately identifies her as the little... She's like, oh, you look just like the little match girl, which, again...
the reference that everyone's constantly making.
Right. So they all the Rangers following Hime all sort of split off, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then Sasuke, we flip scenes, and then Sasuke is the one who finds the little match girl.
Her name, by the way, is Nozomi.
Oh, yeah, we did not find that out until way later, but it'll make life easier. So so Sasuke walks up to Nozomi, and he's like, hey...
there was a monster there earlier, and everyone ran away. What's going on? Are you cool? Is everything safe? She does not speak, again, pulls out another match, and lights it, and once again, this, fire monster comes out of it. We do see real quickly, Matt, that Sasuke sees, he looks close into the fire, and then we see the monster superimposed over the match flame.
Oh, so Sasuke figures out that somehow the monster is contained in the flame, or I think what we actually have to assume, because we'll find some stuff out later, is that he can teleport from one fire to another.
Right, and he is using this as a method by which to jump around.
Yeah, because he says it's trapped in there, which we find out later is definitely not true. But yeah, he can teleport through the medium of fire, which is neat. So the yokai appears. Its name is Kasha, the pyromaniac. Oh, there is one great element of its costume that we forgot. So it's wearing a fireman's helmet.
Uh-huh.
And the fireman's helmet on the plate on the front, it just says Mad Fire 87.
Yes, it does.
Which is fantastic. So he's Kasha the Pyromaniac, and I forget, I think he literally is just a yokai that sets stuff on fire.
Yeah, you got it.
So
he shows up, they fight for a minute. He ends up running away, not because he is afraid, but because he wants to go kidnap more children. Because that's what his jam is right now, is he's kidnapping a bunch of children.
Yeah, and he says something about fireworks are best when they're launched into the winter sky. This is his primary goal, is to launch fireworks during the winter.
Now, why would he have such a specific goal, Dave? It is almost as though there is an interesting backstory to this.
An interesting and completely inexplicable backstory, which we will get to, I promise you. So, Sasuke, Tsuruhime shows up because they've been fighting Kasha, and then they immediately unhang it and they turn back to talk to the girl. And they say, like, hey, kind of like, what's going on? Who are you? What's the deal with this monster? And she says, well, this monster has captured my grandfather, Gojuru Katatsu.
Okay, I was going to say, I hope that you got his name because I 100% did not.
Yeah, Gojuru Katatsu.
Sasuke does know his name because he says, oh my gosh.
Flips out.
Like, you mean the famous pyrotechnician? Because as it turns out, Sasuke is like a huge fireworks head. Like, he is in the fan community for fireworks. And this dude is like the most famous pyrotechnician in Japan.
Dude, first of all, I desperately hope that this is a real thing. Like, I'm sure it's gotta be. Like, there's gotta be people that are that into fireworks. Second of all, and I recognize that this is almost impossible, but I really, really hope Gojuru Katatsu, like, even if the name isn't real, that they got the dude who is the best pyrotechnician in Japan and got him to, like, guest spot on this show.
That would be very fun.
So Sasuke, is a giant fireworks nerd. He's like, no way. Like, he's super stoked. And he says, wait a minute, wasn't there some tragedy at your grandfather's fireworks factory?
Yeah, so...
Which seems disingenuous to me, because if he knows who this dude is based purely on his, like, fireworks prowess, I feel like he probably knows the details of the factory tragedy.
Yeah, he's reading the firework, like, trade magazines.
Yeah, he goes to the shows.
So what had happened is that, like, there was an explosion at there was a fire at the fireworks factory, which, as I'm sure you could guess, does not end well for anyone inside the fireworks factory.
No, it does not.
Her parents worked in the fireworks factory, so they died. And she has been like under the care of her grandfather since then.
Yeah, we find out that she is Gojiro. Gojiro is her paternal grandfather.
Right.
Okay.
But he really wants to go back to making fireworks. And as soon as she says that, Sasuke's like, yes, that is what we, the fireworks fans, also want. Please.
Right, just like, Sasuke, slow your roll, dude. She is talking about her parents dying. So...
It's just got to see those big, beautiful colors, Dave.
She explains further. She says, listen, a dude with a cape who we recognize... And there's a flashback that we recognize as the monster from before. Wait, spoilers. That guy is Kasha the Pyro. Like, it's not a huge surprise.
Yeah.
So she says... That dude, this caped... Of course, she doesn't know that. But she says, this caped man took my grandfather, and he said he was going to come back pretty soon. He just had to do a thing. And it's not actually very clear, like, what the dude offers Gojuru. But the point is that Gojuru goes with him, but then does not come back.
Right. So then, like, she is just sort of, like, stuck in this spot. But later is revisited by this dude who, as I said, is Kasha.
As we said, is Kasha.
So Kasha comes back to her in his human form and says, listen, here's the deal. If you ever want to see your grandfather again, you need to go out and, like, gather children for me. So that, like, I can have them all at my place, and then eventually my plan will be done and you can have your grandfather back. So that is what she was doing at the park. And why she was, like, summoning Kasha to attack these children. Like, she is not evil. She's being, like, blackmailed, basically.
It is not clear who came up with the little match girl costume.
Maybe that's her gimmick. Like, he gave her a lot of latitude. Like, listen, I want you to kidnap children for me. However you want to do it, that's up to you. Run with it.
That's on you. I hope that she came up with the costume, because the alternative is very unsettling.
The alternative is that Kasha just has a whole wardrobe full of little girls' clothing, like, for use in his evil plans.
Yeah,
so
which
let's
is
just assume that was her trying to have some fun with a bad situation.
Yeah. That's definitely digging my heels in on that one. So Sasuke figures out he has... I can only describe it as like he just spends an inspiration point to get some information from the GM. Because he just turns, almost looking at the camera, and says, I figured out what Kasha wants. Human fireworks.
Which, I mean, sure. Why not?
He doesn't explain what that is.
Nor does the episode for a very long time.
Nor does anyone ask him what it is. Like, he just says human fireworks, and we are left to assume that either everybody else already knows that Sasuke is a huge fireworks nerd and is assuming he's dropping some industry term and they're too embarrassed to ask him about it, or that the concept of human fireworks is pre-extant in the world of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. I mean, either one of which I'm frankly fine with. Yeah. So we go from there to Skull Castle, and we see an interior shot of the throne room. As
a reminder, Skull Castle is flying in a giant stone skull with big bat wings.
Oh, yeah.
In case you're not watching along.
When Skull Castle first showed up, I think we said, like, Skull Castle, I think, must actually be pretty small, because we saw Daimao standing in the open mouth of this flying skull with bat wings. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, that must be like a weird, they just jacked up the camera, or like they didn't think about it or something. There's no way this rad Skull Castle is actually that small. Well, we see from an interior shot, and like the throne room is in the mouth, and it turns out it actually is not that big.
Yeah.
Like the flying Skull Castle is maybe... Now listen, for a giant mosaic flying Skull Castle, it's pretty large.
Oh, sure.
Because I don't know that anybody else has one.
I mean, it's not the size of what you would think of as a giant castle, but it's very big for like a cool flying skull
that you live in. Yeah. So it's, so we get the idea. It's probably like 20, 30 feet tall, and then, probably like 60 feet wide, which again is bigger than any flying skull throne room that I own. So I don't have too much space to throw shade.
Right. So Kasha is in there, and he has one of the kinds of yokai plans that I love, because like he's an independent actor, right? Like Daimao did not tell him to go out and do this.
Yeah, and this is 100% Kasha from the top down.
He has got one of the yokai plans that I love the absolute most. Because like he's an independent actor, right? He's not being told to do this by Daimao. He just had a thought and said, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do." He's not
amazing.
He's not trying to destroy the world. He's honestly not even necessarily prioritizing killing the Kakurangers. He just thinks, like in the same way that the Minotaur gunman really wanted to make a theme park, and that the dancing umbrella lady just wanted to like get some people together to dance for Daimao's birthday. Kasha is like, well, Daimao is about to win, but he's sort of down in the dumps because he had this whole, like, recent semi-failure, so I'm going to cheer him up by shooting a bunch of fireworks. And what is better than fireworks with people inside of them?
Right, like, that's just the absolute best version of fireworks, if you're a yokai, I guess. But it turns out he's not wrong, because Daimao loves this plan.
He's super into it. And then at some point in here, it kind of melds like, oh yeah, and I'll put the Kakurangers in there as well. So, sort of two birds with one stone.
Right, he says, we'll kill the Kakurangers, which genuinely...
Daimao seems like such an afterthought.
Right, he digs it, but he does just want to see these super cool fireworks.
So, we cut back out of Skull Castle, and Sasuke is running around with Nozomi, like trying to find the spot where she last saw her grandfather, so that Sasuke can sort of like pick up the trail and try to find him.
Yeah, it doesn't say how long ago they parted ways. It seems like a while, so... This isn't... I guess you just start with the best thing you've got. But it's like, yeah, this is where I last saw my grandfather a month and a half ago. Let's just roll from here. But it turns out that Kasha just shows up.
Yeah, and like Sasuke and Kasha sort of like see each other and have a moment of like, okay, like I acknowledge that this is the person that I'm looking for, but I'm not going to act on it. And
yeah,
like,
there's a neat little standoff.
Like Kasha is walking down the stairs as Sasuke is walking up the stairs. And then they get to the point where like they're standing next to each other but looking past each other. You know what I mean?
Yes, and then
I love any time like that.
It's really, really good, and then they both like turn and start fighting. It's super cool.
It's a neat fight. It lasts for like 2 seconds, but like it's on the stairs. It's very cool looking.
Because Kasha like just one shot Sasuke. He doesn't take him out, but he does enough to get him out of the fight long enough for Kasha to do what he wants.
And what he wants is to tie him up and bring him back to the warehouse.
I was gonna say I'm wrong. He does. He knocks him out because he has him back at the warehouse. So our next shot there is we see Sasuke. He's tied up in the factory, but Kasha did not take his Doron changer.
Right, and so Sasuke is able to activate it, not enough to like transform, but enough to like send out a homing beacon to the other Kakuranger.
So Kasha walks over, sees that he's awake, and he's like, "Oh, good, you're awake. Now I can reveal to you my evil plan." Like he was waiting for Sasuke.
Classic villain move.
Yeah. So it turns out Kasha was, at some point in the indeterminate past, Captain America style, sealed under the Arctic ice.
Right. So he was
not Captain America style for his crimes.
Right.
That's why Kasha was sealed under the ice. But
yeah, so he's like this dangerous arsonist yokai, and so when he was captured, they sealed him in ice and like sort of entombed him up in like the Arctic Circle.
Which I guess if you're trying to imprison a fire guy, that's a good spot. I actually didn't think about this. I thought it was just like, whatever, they just sealed them under Arctic ice. But if you were dealing with a fire monster, that would be a really good place.
Yeah, no, I thought it was very cool.
To imprison him. That's pretty clever.
So like
but he's apparently conscious the whole time that he's trapped in this ice.
But he's facing up and like looking up at the sky the whole time. And while he is up there, like the northern lights happens and he sees the northern lights and says like, "Oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Like these bright flashing lights up above in like the cold winter sky. Like this is true beauty. I need to like recreate this
somehow. And so this is why he's so into the idea of shooting fireworks up into the winter sky specifically.
And listen, like, sure, he's an arsonist murderer who's about to like blow up 100 children or like 99 children plus Sasuke.
Mm-hmm.
But I do kind of appreciate that he has like this this vision of beauty that like inspires an artistic endeavor. Like listen, if you're gonna learn one thing from Kasha, don't learn kidnapping. Kidnapping is bad. Don't learn arson.
Yeah.
Arson is also soups bad. What you should learn is, just going, seeing a beautiful
thing. Let your art be inspired by nature.
Exactly.
Right. So Kasha is super jazzed about all of this. So Genjiro and Nozomi kind of show up, and there's a little back and forth, and it is revealed that Kasha actually was the dude who started the fire in Genjiro's factory in order to like manipulate Genjiro to feeling desperate enough to come work for Kasha.
Right, because when Kasha had approached him originally, he was like, "Oh, I will help you make fireworks again," and he thought that this was going to be like his first step to getting his factory back.
Yeah, so Sasuke is furious about this. I mean, everybody's furious. Genjiro's like, "How could you do that? Like, my son died." It's kind of like a quick line.
Yeah, they really kind of gloss over it, but like his son did super die.
100% die. So, but Sasuke's furious. Kasha punches Sasuke, and then Kasha hits all of his kidnapped victims with just like a beam from his chest that shrinks them all and turns them into dolls.
But like very tiny dolls.
So small enough to fit in a firework.
Yeah.
This is what a human firework is. It's
literally a firework containing a human.
I feel like this is a power, unless this is like a once ever power that Kasha has. Like, I feel like he probably could have been using this shrinky beam way earlier.
Like, why was that not his gimmick? Why wasn't he like the shrinky dude?
That's like a one-shot kill, man. That's just done. Because they're not like very small. They are immobile as well.
They are a non-articulated figure.
Right. And so Kasha says, "Listen, you're going to make these fireworks for me, or I will kill your granddaughter." So Genjiro is like, "All right, fine, I'll do it." So we go to Genjiro. He's making fireworks, but he's very, very sad.
And he's packing like the little figurines into it. By the way, I do love that the Sasuke figurine has been like lovingly painted to be wearing his ridiculous outfit.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty faithful likeness. So he finishes making the fireworks. Kasha reveals, obviously, that he is going to kill them anyways. He says, but I tell you what, why don't you come outside and see the fireworks before I murder you horribly? So the fireworks show, we get some clips of Doro's loading fireworks into like the launching tubes. And Kasha says, the fireworks show is ready.
Now, there's a weird thing right here, by the way, where they are doing this all
odd.
in the middle of the day. And then as soon as Kasha says the fireworks show is ready, it becomes nighttime.
Yes. So
he also has the power to change the sky.
Well, him and Maria, right? It's anyways. So
nice
the Rangers
callback.
arrive. Yeah, thanks. So the Rangers arrive just as Kasha has lit the fuse for this incredible fireworks display. Okay? The Rangers are trying to get to the fireworks to stop the fuse. Kasha, of course, is trying to stop them. They do not make it in time. The fireworks all go off. Kasha's thrilled. He says, that was amazing. And I've killed all these people, including one of the Kakurangers.
I'm sure Daimao is going to be thrilled. We got a nice show.
Right.
Like, everything's cool. And then, in an amazing moment, you get...
the second coolest shot of this episode, I would say.
Yeah, so it's still nighttime, right? Like, at least local to this spot, it is still nighttime. But everything is sort of like, there are bright lights places. And so there's all the fog and smoke from where they had shot off the fireworks. And there's like lights behind the fog, so it's sort of like glowing white. And through that smoke, Sasuke starts walking through, like laughing, like super derisively at Kasha. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and then the smoke like clears. Or I'm sorry, we actually get a shot of the fireworks, and the lights of the fireworks spell out idiot.
Yeah, like they are not kidding around in like clowning on this dude.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
So we find out, and I love it when this stuff happens because like the Kakurangers are ninjas. They should have like sneaky plans sometimes. And this is an instance in which they do.
Yes. So they say, he's like, how did you possibly do this? You were trapped and I saw you be put into the firework. And they say, well, listen, here's what actually happened, you big dummy. Sasuke says, I let myself get captured so that I could find out where you were holed up. And then the rest, like I activated my Doron charger, the rest of the Rangers snuck in, knocked out the guards, replaced the other fireworks with just plain old fireworks, got everybody out, let you be distracted by the fireworks display, and now we're gonna kill you. They do not address how they unshrunk.
Yeah, that is
everyone.
That is 100% glossed over. You just have to assume, because I was watching this episode with Katie, and she was saying like, "Well, how did they get big again?" I was like, "I don't know, man. They got ninja magic. Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it."
Yep. And so they reverse the shrinking. Oh, and it's daytime again, by the way.
Yes.
And so they reverse the shrinking, and then Kasha just says, "All right, fine. Well, now I'm going to kill you." So he's got a super rad move, actually. He's got a blazing wheel, which is like a giant spoked wheel with like fiery blades on the outside.
He's sort of
like blades that are shaped to look like fire.
And he sort of like bowls it at people, like throws it like a bowling ball.
He sets it on fire and launches. It's actually a lot like Saruder Cutter, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's on fire. So that's neat. Jiraiya pulls like the rad like burrowing move because he's the earth ninja. He like burrows underground and then he jumps out and he's got like kind of a toad stance and he attacks Kasha from there. So that's pretty cool. Tsuruhime does, yeah.
Oh yeah, Tsuruhime does like she makes an origami crane and then like a bunch of origami cranes fly at Kasha and then they all explode.
Yeah, and then Sasuke does lightning cut. So that's kind of it for human-sized Kasha. See, he uses gigantism. And then we get an actual fight for a minute.
Yeah, like one that we kind of haven't gotten for a while.
Yeah, Kasha, man, he like gets off a couple shots with Flaming Wheel. I mean, they form Kakuranger Daishogun. But they're like punching back and forth. Kasha gets in 1 or 2 shots. Ninja Man arrives.
First time that we have seen him the entire episode.
Yeah, he just flies in on the cloud. And he also gets in. He fights with his sword for a minute before, of course, Kasha hits him, calls him a novice, and then he rages out. I was thinking about this. Does Ninja Man... Does he have, like, concerns about his own capacity to control his rage, like Bruce Banner Hulk style? Yeah. Like, does anybody who calls him a novice at all just get rage bombered?
You mean like if someone just accidentally calls him a novice? Like, oh.
Yeah.
Like say Ninja Man...
Maybe he's learning something new.
Yeah, like he's in driver's ed or something. He's been in a bottle for 1,000 years. So now he's learning how to drive a car. And so it's like, okay, well, what sort of level are you? Would you say you're like an experienced driver, or would you say that you're more of like I don't know, perhaps a novice? And then immediately he grows giant, turns into a samurai, and throws an explosion at him.
I just love the idea of Ninja Man in driver's ed. Yeah, but they never, like, Ninja Man, see someone, man. It's concerning. So,
I mean, it does work out for him in this instance, because he totally blows up, like, he blows up Kasha, and then Kakuranger Daishogun, like, Iron Fist finisher punches him. What happens next is very strange, because Kasha doesn't just, like, explode or fall down and explode. Kasha, like, flies into the air, lands in a giant tube. A fuse goes into that tube, and Kasha, who I think is still giant at this point, launches up into the air as a human firework himself.
Yes. And then there's, like, a floaty flag thing that says fireworks in winter are the best.
So then
that's the end of him.
You get to be reminded in his moment of death of his one redeeming factor, which is that, like, he really was into, like, this one beautiful, like, moment of nature.
Yeah, I don't quite get, like, the yokai final quote trope. That's not a trope, but, like, thing that they do. I just don't get it. So, we get to the end, and Sasuke has reunited. I say the whole team has, but really it's Sasuke. He's the one who's super excited. He has united Gojiro with Nozomi, and he's like, now that everything is great, you can get back to making fireworks, though, right?
Seriously, just go do it. Go do it right now.
And we get we very much get the idea that this was not an entirely altruistic mission on Sasuke's part.
Like, he was definitely into it because he was trying to help this child, like, get reunited with her grandfather. But, he put in some extra hours. Like, he worked a little overtime on this mission.
Right, he really wanted to get this one done. And then that's, everybody's happy, and I guess he's just gonna go make more fireworks.
So that is it for the episode, Dave. But it is not it for our episode. Because before we finish up here, we need to determine how Kasha fares in the Creature Royale.
Okay, I dig this guy.
I like him a lot.
He's got a great look. I love his plan. Like, in the same way that, like, as we talked about, I love those other plans that are just about not killing everyone and ruling the world, just kind of saying, no, I'm just really into this.
Okay, so
I want to do this, like, one weird particular thing.
So our highest ranked version of that is Ushioni, the yokai rifleman, the, like, Minotaur cowboy dude. And then what's another good version of that, so we can sort of put it's the
umbrella. It's the umbrella one, and she is at spot.
She's a good deal lower, isn't she?
Yeah, she's at spot 49 because hers is not quite as... I mean, so that's a pretty big spread, man. So, like, literally right in the middle of there is Bakugi the Illusionist, Omukade the Football Centipede, like some Iron Mask Choryu, kind of in that zone.
Okay, so the football centipede was also Santa Claus, so he gets a lot of points for that.
That's big. Bakuki the Illusionist was pretty rad too, though.
Bakuki the Illusionist. Oh, yeah.
Is the
he
the
was
Final
cool.
Fantasy looking monster?
Yeah.
And then just below that is this flying sickle weasel, the Shootin' Doji brothers, Kyukagon, the disease monster. Okay. Sickle weasel is my Umibozu, I think. No, Bakuki. Bakuki is my floor for this one. I like him better than Bakuki, definitely.
Okay. Well, I was actually going to say my floor was the Kamaitachi, the sickle weasel. So I'm pretty comfortable with looking around that era. If you don't want him any lower than Bakuki, I'm not sure that I want him any higher than Omukade, the football centipede Santa Claus dude.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty cool with that, because above Football Centipede, we get into Ninja Monkey, and then perennial favorite Iron Mask Choryu from Die Ranger.
Yeah. Okay,
like
so...
Mystic Chinese Darth Vader. So
why don't we drop him right in between Omukade and Bakuki, which places him...
Well, do we like him more or less than Umibozu, the weird Navy monster?
I like him more than Umibozu.
Same here. Glad to hear it.
Okay, so... Oh, that's right. We're putting him in between Umibozu and Bakuki.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that places him in at slot number, 27 on the list?
That it is.
And the list, just for reference, is 78 entries.
Dude, we got to do another... I know we're pressed for time. We got to do another Creature Royale special. We'll get to it sometime.
Let's try to maybe do it when we finish Kakuranger. Because I don't...
Yeah, I'd be into that.
We're getting near to the end of
Kakuranger,
so I don't want to take any more breaks because we've had to have a couple of detours this season. So let's finish Kakuranger, and then we'll do a Creature Royale in between that and the beginning of Season 4, which will be O-Ranger.
Yeah, coming up pretty soon. Looking forward to it. But that is an episode for another couple of months, Matt. Another day.
Yes, but for
another
now,
time
today, once again, we've made it to the end of another episode, folks. I thank you for joining us. No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to do the regular outro. It's going to do it for another episode of You to a Kakuranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. You want to get any other updates on future episodes or check out what we are talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, and I really hope that you do, please remember, shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Please rate, review, subscribe on there. That's what's going to help new people find the show. Tell a friend, tell a foe, tell a loved one, tell a hated one.
It's a weird term, Matt.
Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To get any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can find them all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we're the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we will see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.